Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports, where, as you might have guessed it, we go over everything that's happened this week in Philadelphia sports. Again, if you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, it would be amazing if you could take the time to do so. Or if you enjoy the content but don't want to commit to a long-term relationship, that's a vibe, right? Remember that bit later. Then feel free to leave a like and drop your comments on today's topics down below. And as always, if you're not checking out phillysportsnetwork.com already, I might cry, so make sure you're checking that every day. The biggest news to come out of Philadelphia sports last week was that I won the iRacing Brickyard 400 on, and we streamed it, and it was amazing.
Come on, 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 come on! Yes! Yes! Come on!
Perfect.
Wow!
Absolutely flawless.
Come on! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Come on!
Outside of that, nothing until late on Sunday night, where former Baylor receiver Denzel Mims found himself in the midst of a Call of Duty Warzone livestream and then had this to say about the Philadelphia Eagles.
I saw that interview. You didn't like Philly very much. It's okay though. I didn't like that dirty ass, trash ass city.
Now, for those of you with memories greater than mine, you'll remember that not too long ago, Denzel Mims actually visited the Eagles prior to the NFL draft. And what happened was, he came out on the Inside the Birds podcast and said this. Been to Philadelphia one time and it was last summer before the season. I went with a couple of teammates and my head coach. The experience I had, I was very scared. I wasn't familiar with the whole city and there was a lot going on. You see, a lot of people look scary. I'm not part of that. I don't like it. So, I mean, I had a bad experience, you can say, going up there the first time. But if you just go there more and more, I can have a great time. At the time, a lot of people obviously took to social media to send quite a lot of shade in Mims' general direction, because on the surface, it seems like he is being very aggressive towards Philadelphia, and I kind of understand it from his perspective. He's from a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. He's gone to a massive city, and it probably is a bit intimidating. He's probably not from a very culturally diverse area, and it's gonna come off a little bit scary. Apparently though, that went out the window, because that's not what he meant at all. Settle down, let's not go and touch. Actually, screw it, let's go. A dirty ass, trash ass city. I mean, if we're talking trash, does he know that the New York Jets don't even own the stadium they play in? Like, they share it with a rival. That's bad. And I'm not one to throw shade at a location, but you play for the Jets. This is the team that refuses to pay Jamal Adams, arguably the most talented safety in all of football. And yet, I think someone's a bit bitter. I think someone's not too happy the Eagles passed on him. And I've been looking at it, I can't see why. Can't see why they wouldn't want him. I mean, the only thing more disappointing than Denzel Mims' comment about Philadelphia is his route running. And I've said that from day one, and I'll say it now. Mims had arguably the highest upside in the NFL draft. His route running was poor, to say the least, and it's going to take a couple years to develop, but with that kind of mentality, it might take 12. And then today, of course, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes shattered the universe by becoming the highest paid athlete in all of sports, having a 10-year extension, meaning he'll be on the Chiefs roster for the next 12 years, worth $503 million. That's an average of $45 million a year. Okay, $45 million a year. Now, 477 million of that is guaranteed. The rest are apparently incentives and mechanisms, and there are a few outs for Mahomes, which is understandable. 10 years is quite a long time to sign a contract for, and it's not something you see very often in the NFL. I mean, let's not forget that Donovan McNabb had a very heavy contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, but that was a different time, and the cost was very different, and it wasn't in the midst of a COVID period where the salary cap could change for the next few years. Like, we don't really know the situation. Now, if you're the Chiefs, there's not much you can do. The guy's just won you a Super Bowl. There is literally one version of Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. It's Patrick Mahomes. He is definitely a generational talent. There is no denying that. He can do things that not many other quarterbacks I've ever seen can do. and you can't really afford to let him walk. His price now is only going to rise providing he stays healthy, so you may as well bank on it, knowing that the quarterback market is only rising every year as it goes on. Just take the L now, pay him a massive sum for 10 years, because 5 years down the line, that's going to end up being relatively cheap, I feel like. that is the new standard now. Every other quarterback is going to be looking at that Patrick Mahomes bag and thinking, well, if he gets this, I deserve this. And that's the way of the world. And this is where this point comes in, because I think Harry Roseman has pulled, believe it or not, an absolute blinder in paying Carson Wentz when he did. Carson Wentz's deal was worth $128 million. 107 of that was guaranteed, but it was signed an off-season after Carson Wentz had his year ended prematurely by a back injury. Now, that year was still impressive, but the Eagles were in catch-22. They either go down the Dak route, which, as we now know, is terrifying, or they decide to go all in on their man. If they are besotted with Carson Wentz, they pay him now, they let him ride out 2019, knowing fully well that if he does explode, have a great 2019 campaign, that price is going to skyrocket. Howie took a risk, the risk paid off, because could you imagine a quarterback throwing for 4,000 yards, 27 tutties, 7 interceptions, 4 game-winning drives, and of course, doing all of that with me at wide receiver, essentially, right? And then trying to lowball him? It wouldn't happen. I think Howie Roseman played a beautiful hand in banking on Wentz, paying him early, and seeing the quarterback he's developed into. Like, you knew he was going to set the world on fire. He absolutely did that with no help whatsoever. And when you look at the offense that's around him now, I think we could see a very big year from Carson Wentz, which is of course going to be reflected by the value of Patrick Mahomes, which is now the new benchmark. Now again, we don't know how the Mahomes deal is laid out just yet. This is all still fairly fresh news. It's still smelling like it's fresh out the oven. But when it comes to Carson Wentz, we do know, for instance, that when it comes to 2022, he's earning $18.5 million. In 2023, it's 18. In 2024, that's $21 million. That's still half of what Patrick Mahomes will be getting at halfway through his contract. So by the time that Carson Wentz hits age 32, which is scary, considering that's what he'll be in 2024, looking for potentially that new deal, maybe one more deal to get him over the hump, like one more 5-year deal. The deals for guys like Deshaun Watson, the deals for guys like Lamar Jackson, dare I say Josh Allen? Nah. The deals for names like the more recently drafted Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow will be climbing up and up and up, and all of a sudden Wentz's contract, along with that of Russell Wilson, will become one of the more affordable in the NFL. It's fantastic foresight from Roseman. Now yes, the Eagles are in a bit of a salary cap hole right now. 50 mil over the cap next year is not a pretty sight. No. But, however, let's just remember that the most important player on a team is your quarterback. The Eagles have Carson Wentz locked up for the next 5 years. They don't have to worry about anything. They have to worry about a single thing when it comes to their quarterback. The rest of the roster, they can move around. We know that change is coming. But they've got a franchise QB through 2024 who by 2024 will be one of the cheaper guys. Like, Dak Prescott still hasn't signed a deal, alright? We know the situation in Dallas. We know he's been tagged now. That sucks now for Jerry Jones, because if Dak Prescott has a good year, could you imagine the deal that Dak is going to ask for? Gonna sip this tea. All in all, fair play to Howie Roseman. Good thinking. Elsewhere, Zaire Smith will miss the NBA's return to action because he's picked up an injury, so that sucks. But the team signed Ryan Brokoff, who I'm assuming is going to come in and pick up a little bit of that pace. But Brett Brown said don't expect him to play major minutes. All that really matters is Ben Simmons looks shredded and Joel Embiid appears to be in very good shape, which is a nice surprise, let's put it that way. MLS tournament comes back to action this week, although games are being cancelled due to COVID, so I don't really know how much of a return this is going to be. And Bryce Harper and his lovely man bun wants JT Realmuto to sign a deal with the Phillies. He even wore a Realmuto jersey this past week when practicing, which sent a very clear signal to the front office to get a deal done and stop being such wet wipes about it. It's clear Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball. Just get the deal done, stop being idiots, and make sure you don't upset Big Bryce or his big bat, considering he's going to be here until I'm about 77 years old. So please, for the love of God, just sign Realmuto before I end up yeeting myself out of a window. But that is it, guys, for another episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports. If you enjoyed it, as always, make sure you leave a like, drop your comments down below. below. Thank you so much for all of your support through this period. It really does mean the world to us. If you do want to support us a bit further, we do Twitch stream every single night now for the most part. If you want to come and hang out and see some different kind of video games. From myself, Liam Jenkins, we'll see you next time.